you're a good spokesman. I like that. Look at this, there's a young man right here.
Hey folks, how are y'all?
Okay.
They're early. No, hey, you're right on time.
No, it's
Good to see
2:30.
you. How are you? Good to see you. How are you? Good to see you. Hey Roger, how are you?
Hi, good.
Good to see you.
Dan Green.
Hi, good to see you. Thanks for being here today. Hey, look, why don't we just sit down and have a conversation? How's that? Roger, y'all sit down.
An update on the storm damage.
Yeah, I met you when Jimmy was running for commissioner.
Yeah.
I was his treasurer.
I remember. We,
You guys want to go over, or? That's all right. You're right there?
My husband, he goes over there. What kind of deal is this? I guess he doesn't.
Roger, come on over here and sit with us.
Am I allowed to? Sue told me I wasn't allowed to.
Well, this was supposed to be a campaign kickoff week, but Mother Nature delivered us a surprise last Friday that has changed the focus of a lot of our stops, particularly in the hard-hit areas here in eastern and southeastern Ohio. So I wanted to take this opportunity to first of all, ask that you all continue to remember in prayer and your thoughts the hundreds of thousands of Ohioans that are still without power yet today. Many of them will not get power until Saturday. So it's still a ways away. A lot of people have lost a lot of food. People are without water in some places. Electricity, of course, is the biggest problem. The latest update that I have for Monroe County is that there's about 1/4 of the people that are AEP customers are still without power today. And their projections are that about 95% of them will be up sometime by Saturday. So they're making progress. I mean, you know, the way these things work, they have to start at the top and work their way down. They have to go back to the source, the generation of the power, and start piecing the infrastructure together from the top down in order to find out where it's all broke. They can't work from the bottom up, so they can't go to individual houses first, although they will eventually get there. But we are in contact with the governor's office daily. We're in contact with the federal officials daily. We're also in contact with the AEP power folks daily. So if there are any issues here in Monroe County, Roger, that you think I need to be aware of, or any special needs, please make sure the authorities reach out to us. We've tried to make that known, and we'll continue to do so. But you know, it's a little bit difficult to campaign, and it's not the right thing to do to campaign when we got so many people that are hurting. So I thought I would come and give you that update today, and then we can just take an opportunity to answer questions for you while we're here. If you've got any questions, or I think that's the best thing to do.
Well, the first thing concerning the storm, we're hearing that there's a lot of services available, but not in Monroe County. We're hearing that they're available in Colorado, or St. Clairsville, or somewhere else. For example, we hear that there's generators available that the government's giving out to low-income people that have their own homes, but that's in Caldwell. Well, you take and you got to go there to sign up. Mm-hmm. Well, what do you do with an elderly person lives in their home,
Sure,
low income, and you got to go to Caldwell to sign up to get a generator?
well, they can't get out there to do that. Yeah,
We don't seem to have those services here.
Roger, I'm not sure where those rumors get started from. I will tell you my experience. I worked at the Emergency Operations Center most of the day on Sunday until I went out and started surveying some of the damage. If you got a need and you if your emergency management agency lets the state know, the state will coordinate making sure that you get help in your county as well. It is up to the emergency management agency within each county to reach out to the state agencies and let them know what the needs are. Based on what I saw, I would find it hard to believe that they would expect people from Monroe County that need a generator to drive all the way to Caldwell.
I have
to get
renters
one.
in one of my houses, and they said that they called and they said they had.
Who did they call though?
I can't think of the agency, but they said you have to go to Caldwell if you want to get the generator. You can't get one in Monroe County.
Yeah, well, I will, when I leave here, I'm going to ask that question. I'm going to get our guys to ask that question and see what's going on. Do you happen to have the name and number of your EMA that you can call? Do you know who your emergency management agency is?
It's not Dave Coon anymore.
Do you have an emergency operations center set up anywhere in Monroe
What's
County?
his name?
Where is it set up?
It's out the airport.
Out at the airport?
Yes, and we have an automated call. We got two
Today.
from EMA advising you who to call if you have fire outages. There was one, was it yesterday from the health department advising you, be careful about what's in your refrigerator, this and that. Backing up a little bit to what Roger was talking about, I learned or saw in the paper yesterday, possibly. I do understand the commissioners met Saturday and made an emergency declaration. I think that was in yesterday's paper, 11 trailer loads of FEMA bottled water. One semi was to come to Woodsfield. How does my friend who lives down in the Graysville area, who has no TV, doesn't get a daily paper, who has a well full of water but no pump to pump it up, and goes to the spring every other day, gets some water pressure commode, how do they know to the
How they
water
get that message, yeah.
delivered in Monroe County? I
Yeah.
don't know if I had need for that water myself, where do I go to get water?
Yeah, here's what this emergency has taught a lot of people.
Come on closer.
I've heard some of the emergency management folks talk about it. You've got areas that are completely out of not only power, but their cell phone towers are down or not communicating. Their landline telephones aren't communicating. So you have that exact problem. You have people that have needs. They can't tell anybody about it. People can't reach them to communicate with them other than making a personal visit. We've had similar situations in some of the other counties, people that require oxygen. The medical providers that provide them the oxygen would normally be the ones that would check in on them to make sure, but they can't get a hold of them. Their facility, the medical providers' facilities are down. The patients' facilities are down. And so they can't communicate from one end to the other, so nobody knows who's got a need and who doesn't have. So I think that there are some lessons being learned about this kind of disaster and crisis situation that are going to be reviewed afterwards. The governor, of course, requested a state of an emergency and was approved by the president. I believe it was on Saturday, right after the storm went through, and thus began the trail of federal aid that began to pour in. But you're exactly right. We do have some holes in the local and the state's process for communicating, especially in the rural areas, and it really comes down to we've got to have a more robust volunteer effort to go out and actually talk to people, make sure that we establish communications with people for those that don't get the newspaper, don't have a radio, don't have telephone service, so that we make sure that we're not letting people fall through the cracks out there somewhere. So